Swenson, which I embarrassingly found out somebody mentioned me when I was up there. I am currently the creative director for a brand new haunt called the Vault of Souls. But more importantly, I have been working with the people behind us. I worked with people behind me for many years. The people on this stage represent so much talent in the haunt industry, it is not even funny. I'm going to break it down just a little bit. This is the team from Busch Gardens' Howl-O-Scream. But I do want to kind of bring to the attention some of the individuals up here, because not only do they work tremendously as a team, they are also a bunch of really cool people as individuals. Back here, sitting behind Mr. Ben DeWitt. Ben is one of those people that makes everything happen. So no matter what comes on with Howl-O-Scream, he makes certain that it gets done. Incredible. On the other side, Mr. Claude Smith, who is the creative director, the sick and twisted genius behind some of the wonderful haunted houses at Howl-O-Scream. And sitting in the center is a woman that I had the pleasure of working with for over 20 years. She is, well, most of you probably know her, first off. Every time you go to any sort of trade show and you walk this trade show floor with Robbie Lepre, you have to plan for like 5 days. Because you stop every 3 seconds because Robbie's talking to somebody that she knows. The whole world knows her, and they should. Whether it's the haunt industry, the technical theater industry, the circus industry, Robbie is connected throughout the world. The one and only, somebody who I'm so proud to call my friend, Robbie Lepre. So ladies and gentlemen, it's the team from Howl-O-Scream!
Thank you, Scott. We really appreciate that introduction. Thank you all for being here. How many of you happened to come last night to the tour behind the scenes at Howl-O-Scream? Oh, okay, great. So you're going to hear some of the same things that you heard before. We do have some swag available for you today, too. So those of you that have come again, you'll have another chance to win something. We're going to go ahead and just skip past the introduction, since Scott did an awesome job of introducing all of us in terms of what we do. And basically, just kind of the first disclaimer is that the things that we can't talk about. We can't talk about attendance, we can't talk about budget, and we can't talk about anything that's going to happen with this year's event that has not been announced yet. And for this year's event, the only thing that's been announced as of this day is the dates. And so we have many new announcements that will be coming out bit by bit over the next couple of months. So definitely check with Howl-O-Scream.com or on the Facebook page of Howl-O-Scream. So that's where you're going to find more information about exactly what's to come for this year's event. So I'm going to let Ben talk to you a little bit just about the nature of Howl-O-Scream and what we did last year with Cursed.
Thank you, Robbie, and thank you, Scott, for a very generous introduction. That was very sweet. You made me sound a lot more than I am, and that's great. Howl-O-Scream to us at the park, and you guys all know, I think, who's been to Howl-O-Scream before? So everybody, why am I telling you guys? I got some newbies in here, but you've never been to Howl-O-Scream before?
No.
I'm going to tell you all about it. Howl-O-Scream is something we've been doing. This is our 17th year, and every fall, every Halloween season, we put on quite literally a different park after dark. We close our gates, we roll out all our scary stuff, we roll out hundreds of roaming creatures, we unlock the doors to 6, 7, 8 haunted houses. We fire up our shows, our live shows, our scare zones, our scaratories. We introduce all new food elements, drink elements, merchandising, and just a web of interdepartmental efforts. And we open the doors back up to a whole new park. 300 acres of darkness. All of our great rides that people come to during the day get a whole new makeover at night. It's dark, it's scary. Plunging down Falcon's Fury. Are you guys familiar with that thing? Yeah, that at night, that's enough for me. I did the one time I was supposed to, that I had to, and that's it for me. But that's our park after dark. It's an event we're very, very proud of, and I'd like to show you a little bit of our last year's event. It was 2014, Cursed. Here's our commercial.
Don't ever have the audio though, so.
The phones are ringing. Hello.
And since it's all based on a song, that's kind of tough. So we're going to move on.
Right, like Robbie said, the idea was that you heard a song, and once you heard that song, you were cursed. And we didn't tell you that first. We let you hear the song and then let you know you were cursed. Because, fortunately, the only way that you could break that curse is to come visit us at the park and survive a night in Howl-O-Scream. There you go. And one of the big things that we try to do, I mean, we have a huge park. It's 300 acres. So when our guests arrive, the first thing we want to do is go, bam, hey, Howl-O-Scream. And what we have is a very large, iconic set piece that we would like for you to recognize from the commercial. You can see our Iggy's there, the creepy crawly gentleman from the commercial. And we want you to see that. We want you to come in and recognize that and immediately recognize the Howl-O-Scream brand, what we have been working on for months and months and months. And this is just a couple of images from the front of our park.
A little bit about the diversity of the product. That's one of the things that we really pride ourselves on, is that we have something for everyone. Everybody is frightened by something different. The personal fears that individuals have, we're trying to touch and make sure that we get that scare for them. We are a high startle event. That's something that, again, that we really work on, is that scare and reset and having it a high startle. And a lot of it is startle in plain sight, because we have so many roaming characters that are throughout the park. They may be walking right next to you, but can still immediately turn to scare you, and you didn't even suspect that. So that's a lot of what we pride ourselves on. First things that we start with, of course, is our park map. And we're looking at, the front and the back side of that, of how it's laid out. There's, it's a different park after dark, as Ben said. But we have both our Halloween elements and we have our regular ride elements that we need to incorporate in that. So it's a very integrated event. Of course, we're doing haunted houses. We have our show in what is now going to be called the Dragonfire Grill, which is our cult favorite theme. We have scare zones. We have various scenic outposts that we have. We have lots of photo opportunities for people to take pictures of, and of course, all of our roaming hordes. And for us, the number of actors that we hire for both our scare zones and our haunted houses can number up to 1,000, depending on the number of houses that we're doing that particular year. So it's a very large event spread over 300 acres. We do have some exclusive Howl-O-Scream products. What we did is we devoted an entire gift shop to Howl-O-Scream products. We opened that actually, it's at the front of the park. We opened it on Labor Day. And actually, so many of our products are actually been sold out prior to the event even opening, because people want to get their merchandise and be able to wear a lot of the t-shirts and things to the event. We have our Fright Feast, which is our pre-scare dinner, where we do the Fiends show. And that also allows early access into the haunted houses. So it's a way to get a jump start on the night and be able to run through a lot of the houses for that hour-and-a-half exclusive time of frontline pass. And then we also do regular frontline passes that we call fear passes. We do also a lot of VIP tours, and that's actually run by our Zoo Education Department. And those VIP tours have different levels of participation and cost involved in that, depending on what it is that you personally want to experience. If you want to be with a group that isn't necessarily a private group, that you're grouped together, you can go on rides together with the haunted houses, you can just do the haunted houses as a tour, or you can do the whole shebang and go to Fright Feast and have a more exclusive VIP tour. And that's very, very popular with a lot of guests, because of course they just want to be able to come and enjoy it and not have to think about anything. And then the last thing that we try to do is, we have a club that we have in our Marrakesh Theater that is at the front of the park, and we theme that club each year to the overall thematic of the park event. And we typically have a bar that has, specialty drinks that are named after this year's event as well. So those are some of the exclusive Howl-O-Scream products. So we're going to go on to what's all in the eye for detail, and introduce again Claude Smith, our creative director.
When we work on the shows, we work on all levels. Not only what you're going to see and hear, but what you're going to feel, possibly what's going to brush past you. Every single sense we can possibly involve, we want to involve. So when we start working on things, we look for images that spark something for us. If I'm working on a zombie house, I'm going to go on the computer and pull all the zombie images that speak to what I want them to say, and I bring those into the meeting. Everybody brings stuff in. We all start to talk about things and about the way we want to shape and mold this year's experience. We usually swap out a couple of houses a year, and this year we've got some really exciting stuff going on that they won't let me tell you about, so just know it's cool. It's very cool. And so what we do is we bring images in, start talking about concepts, get that narrowed down to about 3 concepts. Once we've narrowed it down, we try and develop those 3. Once we pick our winning concept, then that gets developed, and we turn that into what we call a venue flow. And in the venue flow, for each house, we describe everything in every room. We usually do 1 page per room. And what you end up seeing is all the creative and everything in one column, and then the scenic is broken down, the audio is broken down, all the elements are broken down there, as well as what characters will be in that room doing scares, what they will be dressed in, and what they will look like makeup-wise. By the time we've gotten through the venue flow and it's been passed around to the creative team, we have a real good idea of what the house needs to look and feel like and what the cast is going to be like. What's been very successful for Busch Gardens in the last several years is allowing guests who go online ahead of the event to help select certain items that will be in the house, that will be featured in the house. I know last year with what we originally called the greenhouse that ended up being called Deadfall, they chose 3 different things. And what we do is we post it online and we say, for the outside, we've got this big logo with letters in it. Those letters stand for A, B, or C. Which one do you think it should be this year? And that's how we end up with certain elements in some of the houses. The great part is then that everybody gets a chance to participate even on a small scale, and when you show up to look at the house, you're looking for those elements that won that competition when you go in the different rooms and things. Once we've gotten everything planned, or at least started planning, we go to the house, or to the location, and we start deciding where the line is going to go to enter the house and exit the house. We work with operations department at the park that work on the ride queues and things like that to help us with that. And then once we get done with the outside, we go to the inside. You can see there's a floor plan of the house. The gray areas are backstage areas used by the cast to get from room to room, and also used by our technicians in order to get to soundboards, lighting equipment. Cable runs are all done back there behind the scenes with those things as well.
And we're going to talk about casting and training then, Ben.
That's one of my favorite subjects. We've talked a lot about, just in the last couple of minutes, about a lot of the front-facing things that we offer our guests, our cross-departmental efforts and designing our houses and everything that goes into that. But all of that would be for nothing if we didn't pull together what I think one of the greatest casts there are. I mean, out of anything. I'm talking Broadway, I'm talking all that kind of stuff. We have a casting process that is very in-depth. It's thorough. We hire, like Claude and Robbie were saying, depending on the event, nearly 1,000 people between our actors, our technicians, our stage managers. Our entertainment department tripled in size. So that's a significant investment for us. We need to make sure we're doing the right thing. That's why our casting process is as in-depth as it is. The first thing we start is with our reunion auditions, and that's where we take the people that have worked with us in the past and we're really happy with the work that we've done, and we invite them to come back and audition again. And that gives them a great chance to come in and get excited about the season very early. And that also gives us a chance to see the people that we know the kind of product they deliver to us. We can use that the best way, and we cast them right there. We know what they're going to do for the event. And that's a huge benefit for us. And then we go for a couple of more weekends. We have more auditions, and over that course of time, we will see thousands of people. And based on our needs, we'll hire 6, 7, 8, 900 of them. And most of them will get a permanent role in a house or in a scare zone or as an actor. In addition to those people, we hire what we call subs affectionately. And a lot of people argue that they have one of the greatest jobs at the event, because what they do is they are on call. They show up and they sit in a room, and it looks a lot like this one that we're in now. And they wait, and if somebody gets sick or somebody can no longer continue working with us, as they go out, they get called up and they go in. And every single night, they go someplace different. There'll be a zombie one night, there'll be a chainsaw murderer the next night, there'll be a plant And I mean a plant, like a real, like, plant the very next night. So that's a lot of fun. Training and rehearsals. Like I was saying, the investment that we make in our people is pretty big. We hire all of these people. We got to give them proper direction. So what we do with Claude and what Scott did with us for a very long time is we go through rehearsals starting in September. We call every single one of those people in. They sit in a room, a lot like this one, and we talk to them in what's called mass rehearsal nights. And every single one of those people, all 600, 700, 800 of them, will get their own costume, and then they'll get their own spot on their own rack. And then we'll have our Tampa Police Department liaison, our security officers will come in and talk to them about being safe, because that's always obviously on the forefront of our minds, both for our actors and for our guests. And then they'll get a chance to visit their venues and see where they're going to spend the season. Then we go into our real rehearsals where they practice their characters. And then Scott, myself, and up until very, very recently, Scott, we would go through every single role with every single actor and help them go the direction we want them to go and maintain that. It's very important to us that we iron out those details because that's where the success really lies, I think. And we all agree with that as hunters. Costuming.
Ooh, I gotta talk to you. We have to costume these 500, 600, 700, 800 people, and in many cases, in most of the houses, they're double cast because we have to have someone in there for 30 minutes and then they get a break and someone comes into their spot for the next 30 minutes and they need to look very similar, if not identical. So, our costume department is tasked with trying to create what we're looking for costume-wise. The great thing is we've done this for 16 years this year, and so they've got a lot of great things in inventory already, but they do create new things every year. Anytime we do a new icon, there is a new costume created. Anytime we do a new house, there are usually new costumes created, as well as new rowing groups and things like that. One of the great and smart things we do, in a lot of cases, we have staff brought in of great special makeup artists that do airbrushing, this kind of mask making and things like that. And they do the real high profile stuff, the stuff you see on the streets, the stuff that's really up close and personal that you can see 360 degrees around. For the houses, a lot of the characters, performers, will do their own makeup. And so to assist us in keeping things as consistent as possible, in a lot of cases, we'll refer to things like this. It's a mask, it goes in Deathwater Bayou, and all of the undead in that house wear this mask. So all they really have to worry about doing is putting black around their eyes and doing the bottom half of their jawline. And that speeds things up. It also makes things extremely consistent in the house with the makeup and things that we're doing.
So talk a little bit about scenic. We obviously do primarily original concepts. So most of the houses that we've done, our scare zones and that, are based on original concepts versus being based on IP or equity products for that. So as we continue to develop our houses, most of the time we will keep a house for roughly 3 years. And each time that we do it for another year, it has a new iteration. So there's a new tagline, there's usually an opportunity for us to tweak that house, maybe put in some elements that we weren't able to put in for the first year, and it gives us an opportunity to take it to that next level, or the next chapter in the story. So a lot of times when we're developing a house to begin with, we're thinking about, okay, what would it be in its second year? What would it be in its third year? So we're already thinking about those things. So when we're doing the scenic elements of that, we're also taking those elements and trying to figure out, okay, how can we take those to the next level? So as we're doing, a good example is in the second picture in the middle there, that's actually the Howl-O-Scream photo op that we had for this past year. It's actually on the show floor right now, and please go take your pictures there and hashtag it with Howl-O-Scream to Instagram or onto our Facebook page. But we start with a drawing for that, and of course, as it starts to be realized and fabricated, we have the finished product with that. We do a lot of our work with outside vendors and fabricators because we really don't have the internal resources to build all of our own scenery. However, we do all of the maintenance on our scenery, and we do a lot of the times the next iteration of that house, we may go ahead and do those changes scenically as well. So this just gives you an idea of what deadfall may have looked like. In the picture on your right, that is actually the original rendering of that. The upper left picture is what it looked like when it was under construction, and the bottom two pictures are what it is like right now, and what some of you saw last night. And some additional photos of the interior of the house. I'll let that play through a second.
One of the great things I learned from Scott was that in a house you don't ever want to have too much room. You try and keep people not going a straight and narrow pathway. You keep the pathway narrow, but you try and wind it around as much. It gets everybody very confused as to where the exit is or the entrance was, and as a result, it makes them much more susceptible to being scared.
I'm going in scared.
And now we're going into scares. I have to get my notes.
That's what we're all here for.
A lot of the scares in the houses depend on prop placement or drop doors or specific physical things. On the street, they have to pretty much totally rely on themselves or possibly noisemakers if they have them. So the location of the scare is important, the direction of the scare. One of the great things that I learned in working with Busch Gardens is we try very hard to scare forward and not backward. This keeps our lines moving in the correct direction so that we get as many people through the houses as possible, and also on the streets. We don't clog the streets up too much by everybody stopping. We scare them so that they'll go forward and run away from us. Bounce scares, ricochet. We do a thing we call pinball scares, and try and set things up like a pinball machine. You know how the ball will go from bumper to bumper? We try and do that in the park, especially with the outdoor scares. Try and set up people in different locations so that I can scare you and you're going to jump away from me and back into the next person who's going to scare you, and it'll just send you down the pathway that way. And if you do 2 or 3 of those in a row, you're doing really well. We're very clear with the actors about their play area and their zones. Our actors cannot touch people. They also have certain areas that they can play in and certain areas they cannot. The only places that I'm aware of that are totally sacred on property that do not get scares are the show area, the bathrooms, and eating areas. So if you want to be safe at Busch Gardens for Howl-O-Scream, those are the places to hang out. Yes, go to the bathroom a lot. We have, for all of our actors, we have escape routes, and we again, back to safety, we go over that with the actors in the houses. Everyone has an escape path away from the guests, so if guests get belligerent or happen to have had a couple of extra drinks and want to swing at our actors, they've got a place to get away to safety, and that's very important to us. We have actor-driven scares, which we've talked about, and we also have effect-driven scares. Sometimes we combine the two. We have several bungee scares in a couple of our houses, and our actors are actually hooked up to bungee cords, and they leap toward the guests. And about the time the guest realizes that they're there and is frightened, the bungee cords pull the actor back into the dark. A lot of things like that are great and wonderful, new kind of fresh scares for classic haunted houses.
So we also are doing effect scares, and we do that obviously through audio and lighting. So the reason that we have the audio and lighting is to enhance the scares, both the atmosphere and the mood, but we're actually creating a lot of the scares through the effects that we use, both lighting, audio, and video. Our lighting effects, we do a lot of specialty effects for that. One of the things that is most challenging for us, of course, are our exit lights. So when you're talking safety, that's always an important thing, that people know where the escape routes are in the event that there was an emergency, but it also distracts from when you're walking into a path. So we've figured out ways to place them where they need to be placed, but hopefully in a way that is less distracting to the overall room and the overall scares. We do, from an audio standpoint, we do a lot of point source scares. So although we have music beds and sound effects that are for every room and overall themes throughout the houses and in the scare zones, we do a lot of point source sounds that we're combining sometimes with audio, sometimes with lighting, sometimes with video, sometimes with an actor effect, a pneumatic or some other element like that. But that's one of the other ways that we really help to increase the number of scares in the house. And of course, with our animations, we're using everything from pneumatics and other air effects with manually operated things. You know, you will see when you come through Howl-O-Scream that we're doing a lot of mechanical effects. So that could be everything from mechanical puppets or doors or slides, sliding doors, windows, upper types of scares, and things from down below as well. And then, of course, atmosphere is very important throughout the houses and in the scare zones. Fog and haze, of course, are, the one thing that we have in copious amounts throughout the entire park. But we're also using scent and wind and temperature changes, and various specific noise and other kinds of effects like lightning and thunder types of effects as well. I'll let Ben talk a little bit about entertainment.
Oh, this one's fun. Obviously, the whole event is entertainment, right? But some of the really entertainment-focused things we get to do, and a lot of these that Robbie has up on the screen now, are more hand-in-hand with our other departments. Fright Feast, for example, is our dinner and a show feature, which you get at Howl-O-Scream. Our guests get to come in, they get a buffet dinner, and they watch themes, and then they get an hour in the park to themselves, and they go explore the park and go through the haunted houses. They get the fun lines and all that for the rest of the night. We have atmosphere photo ops where, I don't know if you guys walked by our table earlier, you saw one of our naughty nurses. We have nurses out in the park, our pinup girls, and that's another opportunity for us to partner with our merchandise department and create memories for guests by taking photos and that kind of thing. We have DJs. We're always creating a party. We're scary, we're having fun, and then Club Curse down there you saw on the bottom, which is a bar club area with the DJ, and we keep it themed to our event that year. Operational execution sounds very boring, and it's not. Fortunately, I'm in a position where Howl-O-Scream is pretty much my full-time job year-round. Most of the other people in the park, as you can imagine, that's not the case. So as we get closer to the event, and as we start planning in February, there's a lot of people that run in my office, and they've got ideas that shoot off this way, and shoot off this way, and shoot off this way, and shoot off this way. And they're all great ideas, and they're things that they've been sitting on for a long time, our culinary friends and our merchandising friends. So my job is to take those ideas and try and gather them, and keep them intact, and pull them together, and push them in one coordinated effort into a successful event. That's basically what that means. We do that with communication. We meet almost weekly at this point to talk about an event that's still 6 months away. And then beyond that, at the event, we have opportunities, Fright Feast, like I mentioned, VIP tours that Robbie mentioned for those people who want a more in-depth, intense experience. Fear passes and quick queue. A lot of the times, we offer a lot, and our guests don't always get a chance to experience everything. And for a couple extra bucks, they will save some time and most likely get to experience everything. Queue line management, that doesn't sound like a lot of fun, I know, but it's always an interesting challenge for us. Claude mentioned we have a lot of venues and a lot of buildings, and we go down there and we plan how we're going to get the people through that building in a timely manner, and we get a lot of help from our friends, and that's always an interesting puzzle. A little help from our friends. That's a Beatles reference. You guys missed it. That's fine. What else we got? And you can see we have pulsed and free flow attractions, and that's just a way that we're always walking a line of we want to get everybody through every house. We want everybody to see everything. But as you can imagine, if you mass produce this stuff, there's a chance that they're going to miss something. So if we have the opportunity and it doesn't infringe on our guests' time, what we'll try and do is let some people into the house. We'll stop the line, even though very clearly they could continue. We'll stop that line and let that batch of guests really get an intense experience, and they're not feeling pressured. Nobody's pushing from behind, and somebody gets to be in front, and that's the real secret. I mentioned earlier we have a very strong relationship with our local police department, the Tampa Police Department, and they have a number of uniformed and undercover officers that come in and make sure that not only our actors are safe, but our guests are safe as well. And we have our security department that's there all of the time now. They really enjoy the event. It's a shift for them as well. And then working with other departments, I've talked plenty about that. And here's Robbie. She knows about this.
Well, we truly believe that that we have a wonderful relationship with all of our fellow haunters. When we first started in this industry, 17 years ago, we were newbies in it and had no understanding of of how to do a Halloween event. We started out with a family-friendly event that then we decided very quickly we wanted to go more in the direction of a full-time or a full-out haunted event. And the only way we could do that is with the help of people that had been doing it prior to us. So we were very fortunate to have people that were willing and generous with their time and information and helping us to learn about this industry, and we've met so many wonderful people, and we've continued to share information with them, and they've continued to share information with us, whether that's big mega haunters like Halloween Horror Nights in Knott's Berry Farm, or whether that's others in the industry that have their own single haunts, even charity haunts, and even home haunters that we've learned so many different things from. So we're very grateful for being able to share that information, and our goal is to give back with that same kind of information to people that are just getting into the industry or just want to grow their own attractions. And as part of that, we have some swag to give away. So if you happen to have a notepad with you, if you will turn that notepad over and look on the back of it, on the very last page, if it says that you are a winner, please come and see us afterwards. Because we have a couple of bags, we have 4 bags to give away that have 2 tickets to this year's Howl-O-Scream event that you're going to trade that off for, and t-shirt and some other swag. And we have 2 masks to give away as well. And for those of you that did not win that, we also have some other things. We've got some koozies and some slot bracelets too. So after this is over, if you'd like to come up real quickly and so that they can move on to the next event. So any questions? We've got a couple more minutes left. About 10.
Look on the last page.
Look, it's on the last page. Anybody find
We have a question.
Yes.
Never been there. Only been in Florida, less than 2 years. Went to Universal Horror Nights on the frequent Fear Pass. Loved it. How does yours compare? I mean, it would be a trip from here going to Tampa, from Poinciana. It would be, a major commitment of time, money. What do you have to offer that they don't, or what did they offer that you don't?
Well, both events are very complementary to one another. So because you've gone to one event doesn't mean that you shouldn't go to the other event. If you've had a great time at Halloween Horror Nights, I can guarantee you're going to have equally, if not a better time at Howl-O-Scream. And the same is true vice versa. What we have to offer, it is completely original products. If you've never been before, you're going to see 7 to 8 brand new haunted houses that you haven't experienced before that are highly themed, highly scenic. We are a very high startle event. So I think what we have to offer is definitely the magnitude of the numbers of people that we have and the numbers of scares that we provide. We have very good scenic. Do we have equity products, and do we have necessarily quite at the same cinematic level that maybe Halloween Horror Nights has? That might not be so. But what we have is equally, engaging in a different way. And can everybody else speak to that and agree with that?
Absolutely.
I would also
Provide that. I think you also have just a complete diversity of product. And I think that you would absolutely enjoy the experience, and it's worth the time, it's worth the money, and please come and see us.
Is it around the same scope, size?
We're actually quite a bit larger than Halloween Horror Nights. I think they're about 90 acres, and we're 300 acres.
But what I want to tell you is, they are a studio.
Yeah.
So they have huge buildings where they set up their haunted houses.
Right.
With Busch Gardens, they're a garden and theme park, so everything is much more environmental, so to speak. Organic, thank you. So you'll turn a corner where there are a bunch of real trees and stuff growing, and there's the beginning of a haunted house, or the beginning of something. So it's a little more organic feel. But I agree with Robbie. I've got friends who work the Universal thing too, and we always go to each other's because it is a different experience, and I think both of them are very good.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
I agree.
Other questions?
Do you use outside vendors for your lighting and sound, or do you do that in-house?
We do use outside vendors as well. We basically utilize a lighting designer and an audio designer. However, we have in-house teams that help to execute that. We do hire outside assistance with that, but it is all our own gear for the most part. It's very few times that we would actually need to rent audio and lighting at this point because we've been growing it over the course of these last 16 years. So we do have a lot of it ourselves, but we do hire outside as well as for scenic fabrication. We hire technicians that are scenic artists and scenic painters, carpenters, other mechanical people. So those are people that we do hire in-house for the season, but then we also contract it out as well.
I think you can compare our Halloween event. You guys know that Sun and Fun airport that's on I-4? The Lakeland Airport, and when they do the Sun and Fun, it's all of a sudden for like a week, it's the busiest airport in the world, but for the rest of the time, it's just a regular airport. That's a lot like us. We have a theme park that we run throughout the year, and we have a standard product that we have for 90% of the year. But then the scale of our event has grown so much that we reach out to the community quite a bit for help. We always look for our opportunities to bring in vendors and bring in new eyes and people that may not know or see the same park we see every day, and we learn a lot from outside companies and third parties that can come in and take a look at our event for us.
Yes.
Alright, so I've never been to a Howl-O-Scream before, but this year you'll definitely count on it. I will be there.
My man.
And I worked Halloween Horror Nights last year, and I loved it. It was amazing. And I would love to work Howl-O-Scream this year.
Well, come out on audition. We would love to see you there for that. I will tell you that audition is rather rigorous in terms of both endurance and what we're asking you to do for that, because we want to make sure that our actors that we hire are definitely understand what it is and our expectations. And when you're asking a bit of difference, we do have a really emphasis on our rehearsal process. So we do a bit more rehearsal and training than I think some of the other haunts are able to do, because we found that by doing that, we have improved our safety ratings, we've improved our overall quality of the scare, and we've made that experience more enjoyable for the team members that we hire, because they have a better understanding of what it is that we expect from them. And so they're totally integrated and engaged in that.
Thank you.
Come out and audition.
Take a look at it. It's bushgardenstalent.com is where you're going to see that information, and that's going to be coming up pretty soon. So check back to that website every week or two, and when our audition dates are posted, I'd love for you to sign up.
Thank you.
Other questions?
I just want to tell you one of my favorite things about this particular event, and that is the only people that the performers are not allowed to scare are uniformed officers. I love that because all of the executives are fair game, and many of them have to go through the houses to see the product. And it's always so much fun to hear a couple of executives really unhappy because they got scared when they went in the houses. And it's a lot of fun that way.
Yeah, we have people that spend most of their time at Busch Gardens working at Sesame Street Safari of Fun or something like that. And then for those 5 weeks during the year, they show up and they forget what we're capable of at the park. Working with Big Bird and everybody, I guess that'll happen.
That's one of the biggest challenges that we have, is that we have our regular day product to operate, and it runs from 9:30 to 6 throughout the Halloween season, and we have a very, very brief window of opportunity from about 6 to 6:30 actually till 7 o'clock to make the changeover for all of the elements that have to come in specifically for Halloween. And although the houses are typically in areas that we can cordon off or block in a way that the day guest doesn't see, all of the elements that are in the walkways and stuff, for the most part, aren't able to stay out, and they have to go back off-site and be out of sight during the day and have to come on quickly to be utilized for the night. So it's definitely a big challenge, but it's also what makes that transformation more impressive. Other questions?
I'm not shy. I was on tour last night. Thank you guys just one more time. I know we've said that a million times, but it was amazing. I walked around all night with a bullet hole in my head. It was great.
You were that guy. You were the bullet hole guy.
I was the bullet hole in the
Right
head.
on,
Right
man.
guy.
Glad you made it okay.
Very quick, 'cause I know you guys don't have a lot of time left, but just kind of going down the line. Favorite scene, favorite scene in the favorite house last year.
Oh man, you're really putting me on the spot. Man, so many ones.
Okay, keep thinking.
My
I'll tell
favorite
mine.
child.
I can tell you.
Oh, ladies first, go ahead.
I can tell you mine. Right when you came in the front entrance, I loved the cursed element that we had when you came in. It was set up that the setup was that you saw the icon character that was on the prop, and then within about 3 minutes, you always had a transformation so that multiples of that same character were able to basically swarm out of that prop and basically surround the guests as they were first coming into the park and actually capture a couple of them and drag them back in. So that was definitely a very memorable moment that was repeated. You could stand up at that front entrance and watch it for, literally half an hour and be continually entertained.
My favorite, and it's a couple of years old, but I go back every year and watch it because it's so much fun, are the bungee guys in Deathwater Bayou. Because they come at you from both sides, and there's this little bridge that people are supposed to walk across. And I'd say at least 50% of the time or more, people end up on the ground because they're so scared, and they're speaking potty words. It's just great. And the other thing I'll tell you is, in many of the houses, there's such good camaraderie with the casts that they keep track of particular scares or how many times they make somebody wet their pants and those kinds of things. So we have a lot of fun backstage as well with just sharing scares, and that's also how they become better, is by sharing their experiences so that we can all learn.
I got mine. Okay, thank you for going first. In the basement, we have an actor that's strapped in an adult-sized high chair, and he's being force-fed Mama's meat chili gruel, and he's been force-fed for a long time. So one of the things that ends up happening is he maybe ate too much and gets a little sick, and he ends up returning that to our guests. And what we did was attach a water spray effect. So we have an actor last year, he timed it so perfectly, whereas he was sitting there like, oh, I feel really bad for that guy. That's not really scary, that's creepy, and he would hit his trigger and spray water, and you can't imagine how many guests I've watched just say potty words, fall to the ground, and just be absolutely convinced that they were thrown up. Well, they weren't, of course, but that has to be my most entertaining and it's certainly one of my favorite scenes in the entire event.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here.